Hey guys, the reason I'm sending you a video instead of another email, or I guess it's an email through a video, is for another reason. A couple of reasons. One is I don't want to just have another meeting. I think we've had a few of those recently. And another is just to show you guys that we can communicate in different and creative formats. It always doesn't need to be the same thing. We all get emails, but when do we ever get videos? So I just thought it would be unique. Anyways, a few of you know specifically what we're doing here. You've been involved in the conversation. Some of you, this is the first time you've been in this conversation. But the reason and intent of what we're calling the experience team is to restart the way that we're doing service at New Life Lakeview. We're going to get out of our ruts of doing worship songs and announcements and then going to the preaching and then having the communion and baptism, all of which is good, but we're not utilizing our creative abilities and talents. And so I put together a format and I'm trying to gather the team of how we can best all use our giftedness, and I want you guys to be a part of that team. I know you each have unique gifts and talents, and I hope my goal in prayer is that this isn't another burden. This isn't something else that you just have to do, but that this is a way that you can be excited to realistically and tangibly apply your gifts to the kingdom and to our service. So we're going to get started. I have a couple of sheets to go over here. The first of which is the overview of the creative team. I see the creative team overview as being where the good ideas become producible visions. I see the services being communicated in a way that the gospel is reiterated, not just through a teaching pastor, but also through things like videos and pictures and maps and ways that the gospel really comes alive. So I think we can incorporate all that at the same time. I see the creative team getting the scriptures from the teaching pastor several weeks in advance, or possibly even months in advance, so that they know where they're going to be at and they can research a little bit and do some background digging on what they would like to see up on those slides instead of just words. And it's not the creative team's job to put together the slides. We actually have someone to do that, but to order the service, sprinkle in those different means of communication. And I see this being accomplished by three teams of 2 to 3 people. Preferably a man and a woman, so that it's not just man focused and not just woman focused. And I also see this possibly being done by a husband and wife, so that we can challenge you guys in that direction and maybe increase your communication of the gospel as well. A service order I would like to see produced no later than 10 days prior to the service. And the worst case scenario is that you hand in what service order we have right now, and that would just be the default. And the best case scenario is that you prepare in several weeks in advance. We have the service orders ready to go. So I see each team being responsible for a 3-week stint. So the first, second, third week of the month, and then they're off for the next 6 weeks while the 2 other teams kick in. So that's how I see the overview of the creative team. Here's some examples of what I see services possibly looking like. Instead of just having what we have currently, possibly we could have the worship leader stick to a 1-minute intro, have the worship team have 2 songs of worship, and then the announcer can come up and give a brief overview of who New Life is. Give 2 relevant announcements. I mean relative because irrelevant. They're not the Connections Cafe and they're not the welcome, because those get communicated, I believe, anyways. Anyways, this is just an example. And then for the announcer to bring up the offering while the worship team can start a what I call concert type song, which is serenading the crowd instead of the crowd worshiping along with. While the offering's being taken, the congregation can be seated, and then possibly after the first verse and first chorus, the worship team announcer can invite the congregation to stand back up and sing. The worship leader or announcer can then come back up, pray over the service, and then maybe have someone come up and share a testimony of how God is working in and through their lives. Not necessarily their conversion story, but maybe they had a God experience years ago. That doesn't mean God stopped working. So we want to let people know what the stories are that are going on in our congregation. That'll take a few minutes. Then we bring the teaching pastor up, And then maybe we have a video. There's several websites I can show you guys that have great, well-produced videos. The goal here is to not produce things ourselves necessarily as far as media is concerned, but to utilize what's already existing that we can purchase or that we can borrow or that's available for free. So I think we just need to tap into some resources there. So these are just two examples of that last about an hour 15. I think that's about a good length of service. And yeah, so just by means of what we're trying to accomplish here, I think this is a good example. And what presentation is complete without a flowchart? So this just shows some of the communication that needs to happen. Again, the creative team is kind of up in the upper right corner doing most of their work prior to 10 to 14 days before the service. And then what they create to go through the service orchestrator and then to the slide producer. The slide producer is someone that's just going to consolidate all the information from Pastor Kevin, the creative things that you guys have incorporated and put them on a background on a theme that makes sense. So this is just kind of what I see happening. I know it's a little jumbled mess, but it makes sense to me. So I see myself working in the service orchestrator format. I think my giftedness allows us to bring together the people and keep the parts moving, to be a little bit more behind the scenes. So just so as a means of knowing where I stand on this one, that's where I see myself functioning. So there's my presentation via email, and I hope you guys understand the concept, what we're trying to get after here. What I'd like you to do is think about and pray over if this role would be good for you to be a part of the creative team, and just let me know what you think. I'd like to get this started early October, and I'd like to have the team set up before then. So shoot me an email or track me down at service or give me a call. And I look forward to talking with you guys. Thanks a lot. God bless.